Welcome to the Ellevate podcast, conversations with women changing the face of business. And now your hosts, Kristy Wallace and Maricella Herrera.
Hello and welcome to the Ellevate podcast. This is your host, Kristy Wallace, and I have a special co-host with me today. Megan, welcome to your co-hosting duties at Ellevate.
Hello, thank you. Hi, everybody. Maricella has a no voice. She has no voice at all today, so we had to kind of sub me in at the last minute.
Oh, but Megan, you are no stranger to our podcast. You've definitely played a huge role behind the scenes, and you've been part of our conversations a few times. So it's great that we can do this together today.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And so you'll hear me, you guys know, we've mentioned it before. We record in advance, so you'll hear me this week and next week's podcasts. So cross fingers it goes well.
It will. And Megan, so Maricella's not here. She lost her voice. She had I believe, pretty amazing Columbia MBA grad school reunion, catching up with friends, lots of talking. And I'm curious, have you been to a school reunion?
I never have. I was supposed to have mine last year. So I graduated from high school in 2011. Our slogan was, "We're so cool, we're number one twice," because we're 2011. And so I was supposed to have it last year, but COVID got in the way. And I think I grew up in Texas. I think they ended up having like a little get together, but they're possibly planning something for this year. So that'll be my first ever reunion experience.
Very exciting. I know I went to, I graduated way before you did, but I went to a small high school in New Jersey, and then I went to Villanova in Pennsylvania. And I had a mini impromptu reunion about a week and a half ago when I went down to New Orleans for the NCAA Final Four championship, where Villanova represented, and ran into a ton of people that I went to school with. I had my son with me, so he got to experience that. It was fun. It's definitely fun to connect with old people that people that you had in your life.
Yeah, I went to a tiny little liberal arts college called Austin College, which is confusingly not in Austin. It's in Sherman, Texas. So we never have anything sports wise. And so if ever you see Austin College in the news, we were a D3 school, and we weren't, don't come for me, Austin College grads, but we weren't very good at sports even among D3 schools. But it was really fun, and I loved every second of it. But yeah, we don't usually show up for that. We've got a few notable alumni. We've got some authors. I recently found out the actress who played Baby Bop in Barney went to Austin College, and I was a Barney kid. So I freaked out and called my mom. I literally called my mom at 10 p.m. and she clearly had no idea what I was going to be calling her about at 10 p.m. And so I just want you to imagine my poor mother picking up the phone and me just saying, Baby Bop? And she was like, what is happening right now? So that's where I went to school.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, the beauty of schools and networks too. I mean, we talk about this a lot at Ellevate, certainly through the networks we've made elsewhere, schools, jobs, communities, neighborhoods, and they're ever growing and constricting and changing and evolving, and human life, continues to run its course for each of us. Then it means that the networks we're a part of are forever changing as well, and there's beauty in that. And so for all of our listeners today, I encourage you, think about, who are those people that have a special place in your history and in your life and trajectory, and that you haven't seen in a period of time, and reach out to them, check in, see how they're doing. It's a powerful tool that we all have at our disposal, which is that tool of just sending a text, an email, a handwritten note, a direct message, and being able to communicate in ways that for many of us weren't as accessible in the past, and let someone know you're thinking about them.
My roommate Gabby actually literally today got a handwritten card from a friend who just wanted to send her a card because she was thinking about how much she appreciates their friendship. And she like burst out of the office and was like, I cannot believe this. And it made her whole day. So like I can vouch, it can really, really mean something.
Wow. Our guest today, Lizette Ojeda, she thinks about this too. I mean, for Lizette, she is an award-winning psychology and career expert who helps professional women who want to reignite their career and reinvent themselves without sacrificing either one. And when we think about reigniting our career, which so many of us is top of mind, after the past few years that we've gone through and felt maybe a bit stagnant or uncertain, for those who want to reinvent themselves, having that network to tap into is critically important. There's a Harvard Business Review article that said for women to grow in their careers and particularly make it into the senior levels of business, we need two types of networks to succeed. So one is that deep network, your personal board of advisors, your squad. We know a lot about that at Ellevate. Those are the types of connections we're building that you can turn to for advice at any time. How to negotiate that raise, or, what does reinvention look like for you, and what's next. But we also need the sheer breadth of network. It's the people we've met in school and people we might have met in our prior jobs and communities. The Ellevate community, which is the largest community of women in the workplace. All that breadth of network connects you to different ideas and inspirations and other secondary and tertiary connections that are so meaningful as we go through our careers and lives. So Lizette today is going to talk a great deal just about how you approach career change, career intentionality, and networking in a way that helps to bolster you and your career.
I can't wait.
Let's get to my conversation with Lizette now. Hello, Lizette. Welcome to the Ellevate podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Let's dive right into learning all about you. Would you mind sharing a bit about your story?
Sure. So I am a 40-year-old single mother of 3 sons, and I have a PhD in psychology. My parents did not even attend high school. My parents are from Mexico, and I do a lot of things all related to helping women reach or sustain their current success or reach their next level of success with more confidence and less stress. And my approach is pretty unique because I look at it from several different angles. So I'm a professor, so I teach this stuff. I also am a published researcher, published author, and contributed to books. So I like understand the science behind this, and then I also apply it through partnering with companies, speaking, training, and executive coaching. So that is me in a nutshell.
You are a very busy person. So I think we have so much to talk about here, but I want to quickly start. Maybe I'm reading into something, but I'm curious. You mentioned your parents who didn't complete high school, and here you have a PhD. You have 3 children of your own. How do you think about the legacy you're building for your children and how the work that you do will impact them? Because it sounds like you tell your story that your parents had a big impact on your life and kind of where you took that.
Yeah, so it's really important for me that I raise good men. My children are biracial, so they're half Black, half Latino, and so I understand like what it's like to be of a marginalized background, and then also raising boys who have marginalized backgrounds as well. And I want them to see what is possible for women, so that they can honor, respect women through me. And, like my grandmother got married when she was 15. She didn't even learn how to drive. So I think I'm breaking a lot of generational cycles. Like I'm like the first one to get divorced and leave, unhealthy relationships. And it's a lot of weight on my shoulders, but I am so determined to shift the narrative for myself, for my kids, for other women who come from similar backgrounds, allowing them to really be able to step into their full, meaningful potential rather than subscribing to what people think they should do, or what they have even internalized as what they think they should do or be. I want them to be able to feel like it's possible to really make the most out of all the skills that they have under their belt, all the certifications, degrees, and not feel like they need one more. It's just so interesting because, you know, men tend to apply to jobs when they maybe meet a few qualifications. But women, it's like we have to check off all the boxes before we even give ourselves a chance. And so, you know, that's a big problem because then we are not as represented. You know, we close off doors. Obviously, there are several systemic barriers that, you know, make that even worse. But I'm really focused on, we cannot control the system, the organization, the environment that you work in, but you can control how you let it affect you. And so it's going to take a long time to make systemic, structural, societal change. And I probably won't be alive by the time there's a significant change. And the pandemic has really set us back quite a bit. And so I'm really focused on helping the individual really unleash their inner leader and step into their full potential and see what all they can really do with everything they already have.
What are the ways in which I'm trying to think of the right word here. I want to say like create that shield, right? I mean, because this is tough work, and so much of what you've talked about with your family and the barriers you're breaking down, and also the work that you do and the people you serve, it can get discouraging, you know, and it can be a lot to carry on yourself. And so how do you know, I don't want to say build the armor, because I don't think that that's what this is about, but support yourself during this time and help ensure that you're able to be in this for the long haul.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say that I know my why, and my why will help me find the way. Even if there are temporary setbacks, like I know as long as I keep going, I will eventually be able to get to where I want to be. Now, I figure out ways to get there further, to get further and faster and make it less um, exhausting, by asking myself, okay, here's where I want to be. Let me reverse engineer that. What are all the steps that I need to take to be able to get there? What do I have right now within me that I can use and put towards that? What do I not have, and where can I get it? If it's something that needs to come outside of me. Um, you know, I say no to a lot of things that aren't aligned with my vision and my purpose, because the thing is, if you say yes to something, you're automatically saying no to something else. And yes, sleep counts. And so being really clear on your why and what is aligned with that, all the incoming requests, all the possible opportunities, even though they're exciting, is this going to help or maybe hinder where you're trying to be? And it's really difficult to be able to stay in it for the long run when you get knocked down. And the thing is, what I always say is, you only have a front row view to people's performance, to their achievements. You don't have a backstage pass to all the rejections, all the challenges, all the times that they were really stressed out and had all the self-doubt. And that's something that's really important for people to know, because we compare ourselves to others, but we don't know the whole story. We think that we're the only ones who struggle, or that it takes us as long as it does, and that Susie Q can do it much more easier than you and faster. And that's just not the case. And so not comparing your chapter 2 to somebody's chapter 10, and also, acknowledging where you are and the resources that you have and the journey that you've taken, and realizing that it's going to look differently than other people, because you're your only you. And so, I'm a really big proponent of figuring out what are your greatest strengths and leveraging those, rather than focusing on what you don't have. Because then the strengths you can use to propel you forward faster, because there's already momentum built there. And then it just creates a really beautiful ripple effect of confidence, rather than trying to focus on improving some areas that maybe will never be your zone of brilliance. Focusing on what you do contribute, what you bring to the table is so important for your self-confidence and also for your unique value proposition, right? But it has to start from the inside out.
I have a few questions about this. Clearly, I'm going to use this as my own personal session, but saying no. All right, let's talk about saying no. I personally have a problem saying no, but and I've thought about this a lot. Why? I mean, partially, it's not that I don't like saying no. It's that I feel. I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't want to let people down. Maybe it's because in the moment I think, sure, this is a good idea, and then when the meeting or the speaking engagement or the whatever it is comes up, I'm like, why did I say yes to this? And so I need a better framework for making my decisions because clearly right now I'm impulsive and emotional. What framework do you use for saying no?
Yeah, you know what? I'm a recovering people pleaser, so I totally get
Well,
that.
then you're the person to talk to right here.
I totally get that. And I'm like, you know what? It's just one little thing, but then they add up. And so it goes back to being really clear on your why. And anytime you have an incoming request, no matter how small, ask yourself, take a step back, literally move away from the computer before you respond and ask yourself, is this going to help or hinder my mission? Um, and maybe immediately it won't help, but it's a stepping stone to get to where you want to be. And so being very intentional about how you use your time because we only have 24 hours and once it's gone, it's gone. Like we can never get it back. At the end of the day, when I am, on my deathbed, I would give anything for an extra 5 minutes. So why do I not use it more effectively while I still have it, and so just you need to get into the habit of not reacting, but being more intentional and asking yourself, is this something I should do? Maybe do later. Maybe somebody else could do it better than me. And also, it doesn't have to be like a straight up no. It could be like, I can do this. Would that work for you? Here's what I can do. Here's when I can do it. Here's another option that you might want to consider, as I'm not able to give it the justice that it needs at this time because I'm just so tied up as much as I would like to. So, figuring out what is the challenge when it comes to saying no. Is it that you don't want to let other people down? Is it FOMO? What is it? And then figuring out how to respond accordingly based on what is the thing that is kind of triggering you there.
Well, and you also talked about strengths and leveraging our strengths to really build our confidence and own our confidence. And I hear this a lot, actually. I was just even in a meeting today or doing a presentation today, and someone asked about that. Like, what do you do if you're in a meeting and you're not really confident in, the fact that you understand what's being said or what your role is in it or your ability to, adhere to the expectations. And there's just so many places within life in which our confidence falters. And how do you navigate that?
Mm-hmm. So showing that you can still be unclear or not have all the answers and still be secure in who you are and what you bring to the table. You would be surprised just how much more respect I have felt that I have gotten by being able to say, you know what, I'm not really clear. I understand that. Here's what I'm hearing. Is that right or am I off? Or saying something like, I I think I'm not ready to take this on. Why don't you give me another month and we'll come back and circle back to it? Because I need to go tap into my resources before I commit to this. I want to make sure that I'm up for it at this time. I don't feel like I am. I'll come back. And so if you notice, it's the way that I am conveying that. Like I am still confident in who I am, even if I don't know the answer, um, even if I have a skill gap, like I can own that because I know my strengths and that helps me feel confident, even if there's areas where I don't feel so confident. And the thing is that you can't know all the things. If you do, you're not you're not as much of a subject matter expert or like really going to be known as the go-to person in your field for a certain thing. Like you want to be top of mind and people think of you when they have a specific problem. Um, and so taking that pressure off of you and being okay with not knowing all the things is going to make a really huge difference because people are often surprised, like, oh, she doesn't know, but she's okay with it. And it gives others permission to do the same.
Yeah, and I think that that really feeds back into what you're talking about, that imposter syndrome, right? Where we just it's easy to think this person has it all figured out. They've got the best career, they've got the best life, they're doing amazing stuff, and oh, I'm struggling on this project, or I'm struggling on this, and we create a narrative where we, aren't on par with others, and don't see that, we're all in the same boat. Like we all suffer loss of confidence at times, or feel like we're not up to par for a situation or a task. But it's about, just like you're saying, really owning and believing in your strengths and yourself and the unique you that you bring to the table, and trusting in the fact that you'll continue to learn, you'll continue to grow, you'll ask for help when you need it, and that you can figure it out. You have in the past, you will in the future.
Yeah. And the goal is not to eliminate lack of confidence. Like we all feel that way. Otherwise, you are bordering on narcissism. But it's getting yourself out of there as quickly as possible so that you don't spiral down and miss out on opportunities, or not put your hand up for something that you want to, but you're afraid of maybe messing up. I call it the hater in your head. That voice that tells you, who are you? You got here by luck. What are you thinking? You're going to make a fool of yourself. They're going to find out. And so being able to identify that and say, okay, I hear you. You're probably trying to protect me. But here's why I do know what I'm talking about. And then being able to list some of the things that you have done that you have been successful with, especially previous experiences that are similar to the one that you're facing right now, where you're having some self-doubt. Like, how can you borrow some of that success from the past to bring in here in the current situation?
I love that. Lizette, you talked about, obviously you are doing amazing work. You are a mother of 3. We are all living during a pandemic still. How do you take care of yourself? I mean, I can't even, in your introduction, I afterwards was like, whoa, that's a lot. But I think we are all doing a lot. I mean, not to discredit everything that you're doing, because that's not my intent, but so many of us are wearing multiple hats and pushing ourselves personally and professionally to, have the impact we want to achieve the goals we have. And that can be very overwhelming. So are there ways that you take care of Lizette, or that you manage that load and the potential burnout that comes with it?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, this has been the one of the most stressful times of my life, and I recognize that. I don't try to deny that that's not my reality and push through. And so, being real with yourself is really important instead of trying to pretend as if everything's okay, or trying to just hustle and convince yourself that maybe you're not that you can take on more. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. And so I have a lot of help, to be honest. I have a nanny who stays here with me during the week. I hired a chef, and coming from a low socioeconomic background, I feel very uncomfortable doing that. But I had to be real with myself and say, I cannot do all the things. What are the things I want to do? What are the things I like to do, and I need to do for myself, for my career, for my kids, for society, the impact that I'm trying to make. And cooking was not one of them. Um, Cleaning is not one of them. Um, and so I outsourced that. And so being very intentional, because remember, when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else automatically. And I needed every minute to be able to do the things that I wanted to do, and the impact that I wanted to make. I also get a massage every Friday. I love massages. It's just like the perfect way for me to end the week and just kind of reward myself for having made it. What else do? I do a lot of different things. I do like, meditation. I have a therapist. I'm a psychologist, but I have a therapist. So permission to go get one granted. Yeah, a lot of help. I cannot do this on my own. And here's the thing: a lot of high achieving women think that if they can't do it on their own, that it's a sign of weakness. Actually, it's a sign of strength, because you recognize that you don't have all the answers, and also with support, you're able to get further faster, and it saves you so many headaches and time, and possible missed opportunities as well. So, yeah, that's what I do, and I get my 8 hours of sleep. By the way, nothing comes between me and my sleep.
I'm jealous of that. Not that I don't try. I just terrible sleeper. But I am. Yeah, it's you're causing me to recall a situation that my sister-in-law, whom I love dearly, called me out a number of years ago because I had 3 young children, 2 I think under the age of 2, and just felt like I had to do it all. I mean, I was totally burning the candle at like every end possible, and was trying to be like the best mom and the best, friend and partner and boss and leader and like all of these things, and just go, 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 go. And she said to me, she's like, Kristy, you're doing a disservice to women everywhere by trying to set this expectation for yourself and then like having others think that that's what's expected of them. And she's like, you're gonna, fall. She didn't mean that maliciously. She just was like, this isn't sustainable. And you have to kind of take a step back and ask for help and figure out, where you can put your time and resources. And she was completely right. I mean, I was burning out and just not admitting it. Or I was totally burnt out and not admitting it. And there's that stigma of feeling that we have to be the perfect everything. And when we particularly live in a society with very archaic and dated societal norms, you then are adding not just the perfect boss or manager, or business owner, or whatever, however you identify professionally, but it's also the perfect homemaker and cook and caregiver and friend, and all of these other labels that women must endure. And we do need to kind of take a step back and say, okay, like, I am an individual. What is the best use of my time? Where am I most invested and interested in spending that time? And how do I get support for the other aspects of it? Because we can't do it all.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I always tell people to remember their 4 Ps, and that's um, see, here's the thing. You're more than just a professional. You're also potentially a partner, potentially a parent, and most importantly, a person. So those are the 4 Ps. Just to see where you're at in every one of those areas that applies to you. But when one is off, like, it affects the other. It spills over to other areas of your life. It's really difficult to compartmentalize. And so, um, you know, checking in with yourself and seeing, is there an area that is like not where I'd like it to be? Is there an area where I'm giving in a lot more effort with not as much return? Is there an area that's stressing me out, that's affecting another area? Being able to take like a 360 look at all these different titles, roles that you play, and realizing that at the end of the day, you as a person, you can't put yourself last and put everything else and people first, because you're not going to be able to give the best of you to others. So self-care isn't selfish. It's a disservice, to be honest, because you are your greatest asset. You're your greatest tool. It's through you through which you make change. It's not like a machine, right? Like we don't treat cars the way we treat ourselves. We go give its regular maintenance. We don't wait until the check engine light turns on, for the most part, I hope. Right? And so why don't we do that for ourselves? Like, view ourselves like we view these things. Our minds, our voice, our thoughts, our ideas, like, it's all within us, and we need to protect it and be able to give ourselves the rest we need to recuperate, to rejuvenate, so that we can make the most of the tool that we have, the greatest asset that we have, which is ourselves and our brain.
Yeah, so I find that in terms of self-care, I'm really good, or I've become better at making time for the things that I truly enjoy, like massages, and I do love that as well. We are bonded over massage now, Lizette. But I so that I'm like, sure, I can take an hour and a half for that, and like reading a book, and currently doing the Wordle, if you're doing the Wordle, and so the things that bring me joy. But then there's also things that I know I should be making time for, like my health, my health and well-being, and working out and meditating more. And it's like hard to get into that, and in part because I do want to, but it kind of feels like another to do on my list right now versus the I really need this to help me. Like massage, I get it, and that's easy for me, and I really enjoy it. But some of these other things that are to help fortify me and sustain me, I have a hard time carving out the time, because again, it feels like something else that I'm not fully on board with yet. Do you ever hear that from your clients, and how do
Oh,
you help
yeah.
them with that, or should I just give up the fight and admit that I'm not going to start running again?
Oh gosh, yes, I hear this all the time. And what usually is the thing is among high achievers is like the all or nothing type of mentality. Like either I'm going to do it, I'm going to go 100%, or I'm not going to do it at all. I'm waiting until the perfect time where I can really make it happen. And it just doesn't happen, especially if you're very, very busy. And so what I often tell my clients is I tell them go walk for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. And they can do that. But what ends up happening is like they don't want to just do 5 minutes. They end up doing 15 minutes. And then suddenly it's like more. But the pressure to perform, the pressure to do it right, quote unquote, is removed. Um, and so looking at what kind of expectations you're putting on yourself for doing this, and is there any guilt surrounding it as well? Because we're less likely to do something if there's guilt that we induce upon ourselves. Um, and so like getting clear on your why, like why do you even want to do this in the first place? The pain of doing something has to be less than the the pleasure of it. And so trying to make it fun, shifting the way that you view it. What does it mean to exercise? What does it mean about you if you don't? What stories are you telling yourself about who you are because you can't get it together to even do this? Yeah, I mean, this is a really big issue, to be honest, because like there are so many things that we know that we should be doing for ourselves, but that I tell my clients, stop shooting on yourself. Stop coming from a place of, I should be doing this. I need to be doing this. Because that just puts a lot of pressure, and we tend to procrastinate when we feel like we don't have a sense of control. And then we just feel worse about ourselves because we keep putting it off. And then it becomes a bigger problem than had we addressed it to begin with. So don't try to do all or nothing. Just take a small baby step, and also remove as much resistance as you can. So like put your workout clothes right in front of your bed first thing in the morning. Get it out of the way instead of waiting until the end of the day when you're already tired and you have to go dig for clothes. Right? Just reduce that friction between where you are and where you want to be and the things you have to do to make that happen.
Well, excellent advice. Lizette, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. I want to end with a quick little fun game, getting to know you better. So I'm going to ask you a few questions if you wouldn't mind answering in, a few words or a sentence. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Big time introvert.
Love it. What's your favorite day of the week?
Friday, massage day.
Yeah. I side story at Ellevate, we are doing a 4-day work week every other week, and so I have this self-care Friday, and but like the past couple of weeks, it's my self-care Friday has been bamboozled by my children and my family and like other things that I have going on. So I'm desperate to get back into the routine for my self-care Fridays. So I will make that happen.
You have to schedule it. If it doesn't get on the calendar, it doesn't get done.
I know. Who's your dream dinner guest?
Oprah.
Yes. Do you have any pet peeves?
Oh gosh, leaving clothes on the floor.
Oh, that must be fun with 3 boys.
Oh yeah, I can't tell what's clean and what's dirty.
Do you have a favorite recent read?
Secret Thoughts of Successful Women by Valerie Young.
Oh, perfect. And a final thought you want to leave with our listeners here today?
So, we have worked really hard for our careers, but they shouldn't be at the expense of ourselves or our personal lives. So, your career is not separate from you. It's an extension of you, but it does not define you. You define you. So figure out what that looks like for you and let it shine through your career.
Perfect. Well, Lizette, thank you so much for joining us today on the Ellevate podcast.
Thanks for having me, Kristy.
Welcome back from my conversation with Lizette Ojeda. Megan, what did you think?
I really, really enjoyed that. I enjoy every one of them, and I get to listen not only when I'm on the podcast, but I listen to them every single time because I'm the one that does all of our social media. And so I get to find the really juicy pull quotes from it. And I thought that was just such an incredible interview.
Yes, and if you are not following us on social media, please do. Megan's doing a wonderful job. You'll find us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, we're on Twitter. We're everywhere you are. But this is a great way to learn about our upcoming episodes on the podcast, get some insights from what was contained in the conversation, but also learn much more about Ellevate and connect with our broad community that is always there to give you that advice, that cheer and support. And that's a big part of what this podcast is about. We want to tell different stories, share the passions of others with you, give you some inspiration, some perspective, and to help you feel like you're not alone. Many of us navigate career changes and uncertainty, setbacks and failures, but even more so, we have a lot of wins, and we want to keep celebrating that. We do it in our History Maker section, but we do it in the podcast and every day at Ellevate Network. It's about putting you first, being champions for you and for the future that you seek.
Oh, yeah, it's the best. And thank you guys, by the way, just since I never get a chance to say this, thank you guys for listening. This is one of my favorite things to do for Ellevate. And we always strive to bring you better and better podcasts each time. If there's ever anything you think that we can improve, you can email us at podcast@ellevatenetwork.com, or just somehow, you can reach us out on social. Again, I run those. So thank you so much for always supporting us in the podcast and everything we do.
Excellent. And beyond our podcast, as you know, we have so much going on here at Ellevate. We're returning to in-person events within all of our 40 plus local chapters, helping you to connect with the local community. We are currently in the midst of our first cycle of squads in 2022. So if you want to learn more about that, check out Ellevate and you'll be able to sign up for the next cycle that starts later this summer. And we have our weekly roundtables where we aim to connect you to expertise, help you to continue to learn, grow, go after your goals and dreams, and build relationships with peers. So in some of our upcoming roundtables, we've got our executive roundtable on getting unstuck. So really in line with today's podcast episode. Rising leaders will be talking about how to build your confidence. The Career Changers Roundtable is focused on the art of mindful negotiation for career success. And our Entrepreneur and Business Owner Roundtable will be talking about business as a force for good. So some fantastic conversations and a time when you're not just there to listen, but a time to listen and engage and turn that into action in your own life. Great stuff. We hope you'll check it out at ellevatenetwork.com. And now let's get to our special History Makers section where we celebrate those who are making history. Megan, do you want to get us started?
I absolutely will, because we have a very big one to start us off. You heard us talking about her last week. As I mentioned, we do record in advance, so this is the first conversation we're having since this became official. But Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was confirmed by the Senate to become the first Black woman to serve as a Supreme Court justice.
So exciting. So exciting. Overdue. I know we always say that. It's, why is it 2022 and this is the first? But Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is just my hero, my role model. So inspired by the work that she does and the pathways she's paving for others. So let's hope this is certainly not the last that we celebrate around diversification across business and policy, politics, government, and beyond. But this is a true moment in history to celebrate.
Yeah, was it Kamala Harris who said, "I may have been the first, but I certainly won't be the last," I think?
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's definitely what we're striving for here.
Absolutely. We're also going to celebrate Falu, who became the first female Indian artist to win the Grammy for Best Children's Album.
Hey. Particle physicist Leah Merminga was appointed the first female director of the Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory.
Arooj Aftab became the first Pakistani woman to win a Grammy.
Ashley Callingbull will become the first Indigenous woman to appear in the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition.
Yes, that's fantastic. And we want to celebrate Linda Fagan, who was nominated to serve as the next commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard, which would make her the first woman to lead a U.S. armed service. And join us back here next week, where we'll be speaking with Bonnie Hageman. Bonnie has founded and led companies, led and outsourced functions for large corporations, coached and advised over 200 CEOs and senior leaders on leadership, strategy, and culture. Lots of insights with Bonnie, and we'll see you back here next week.
Can't wait.
Thanks so much for listening to Ellevate. If you like what you hear, help a girl out. Subscribe to the Ellevate podcast on iTunes, give us 5 stars, and share your review. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Ellevate NTWK, that's Ellevate Network, and become a member. You can learn all about membership and all the great things that Ellevate Network is doing at our website, www.ellevatenetwork.com. That's ELLEVATE network.com. And special thanks to our producer, Catherine Heller. She rocks. And to our voiceover artist, Rachel Griesinger. Thanks so much, and join us next week.